At my grandfather's birthday dinner, between the prime rib and the polite lies, he leaned toward me and asked, "How's your 3.4 million trust fund?" The room laughed, like he'd told a charming old man joke. I didn't. I had never heard of any trust fund. By Monday morning, I wasn't asking a question. I was writing a report that would end 3 careers. On camera. I am Rowan Hale, 31, and I'm sitting in a beautifully upholstered cage. The restaurant is the Stonebrook Grill, a place that weaponizes beige and muted lighting to justify its prices. We're in the Founder's Room, a private space sealed off by heavy, frosted glass. It blurs the outside world into watery shapes and muffles our laughter so it can't escape. It feels less like a celebration and more like a high-level deposition. The air is thick with the scent of seared prime rib, overpriced Cabernet, and the cloying vanilla of the enormous birthday cake sitting on the sideboard. 80 candles, a forest fire of tiny flames waiting for a wish. I am wedged, as I always am, between 2 monoliths, the Hale Caro dynasty and the executive leadership of Norcrest Dynamics. Tonight, they are one and the same. On my left, my mother, fluttering with a polished anxiety, her pearls clicking softly. On my right, my cousin Dean, VP of Risk, who smells faintly of the gin he had before dinner. Across the table sits the unholy trinity, my Aunt Caris, head of PR, her smile laminated in place, her husband, my Uncle Victor, the CFO of Norcrest, and at the head of the table, the guest of honor, my grandfather, Everett Hale, 80 years old today. He built Norcrest Dynamics from nothing, and now, in his retirement, he haunts it. He's a relic of a different era, an era of slide rules and handshake deals. But his eyes, watery and pale blue, miss nothing. The family treats him like a revered, slightly senile monument. I'm the only one who still sees the architect. The dinner is a performance of perfection. We laugh at anecdotes we've all heard. We compliment the wine, a deep, blood-red liquid that shimmers in the crystal. We are the perfect family and the perfect executive team, celebrating our perfect patriarch. The lies are so smooth, so practiced, they feel like truth. I'm the head of compliance. My job is to spot the cracks in the facade, and this family, this company, is my specialty. The plates are being cleared. The laughter has hit that high, brittle point just before the cake. Grandpa Everett, who has been largely silent, leans forward. His movement is slow, reptilian, but it cuts through the room's noise. The chatter drops. He leans past my mother, invading my personal space, the smell of old paper and expensive whiskey. He smiles, 1,000 tiny wrinkles folding around his eyes. "How's your 3.4 million trust fund, kiddo?" The question lands, not like a firecracker, but like a block of ice dropped onto the table. It just sits there, cold and hard and impossible. Then, the laughter. It erupts, a sudden sharp bark from Dean. Aunt Caris follows, a high-pitched titter that sounds like breaking glass. Even my mother manages a tight, forced chuckle. It's the sound of a herd convincing itself the predator isn't real. A charming old man joke, a senior moment, Everett being eccentric. "Dad, not tonight," my mother hisses, her smile strained to the breaking point. Her hand finds my arm under the table, her nails digging in. Play along, don't make a scene. I don't laugh. I freeze. It's not a social freeze, it's a system halt. My entire consciousness, trained to parse data, risk, and deviation, snags on the number 3.4 million. The specificity is what gets me. It's not your trust fund. It's not your inheritance. It's a hard number, spoken by the founder, in front of the CFO. My heart executes a single, painful kick against my ribs. One beat. Then, the training takes over. The mask slides into place. I am Rowan Hale, head of compliance. I am polite. I am confused. I am charmingly dismissive. I turn my head slowly to meet my grandfather's gaze. I manufacture a smile, a small, quizzical tilt of the lips. What trust fund? I deliver the line with perfect, breezy ignorance. I've just matched their joke. The ball is back in the air. But I'm not looking at my grandfather anymore. My eyes are moving, scanning. My gaze lands on Uncle Victor, the CFO, the man whose signature is on every financial report, every SEC filing, the man who taught me how to read a balance sheet when I was an intern. His reaction is not a performance, it's a confession. Victor's eyes don't just move, they flinch. It's a violent, microscopic jerk to the left, down, toward his half-empty wine glass. He raises the glass to his lips, a shield. His knuckles are white. He doesn't look at me. He doesn't look at Everett. He looks at the Cabernet as if it holds the answers to a question he never wanted to hear. It's a micro-tell, a deviation from baseline, a flashing red light in my brain. He knows. He knows exactly what trust fund. A vibration, sharp and insistent, against my thigh. I break eye contact with Victor's wine glass and slide my hand to my pocket. The table is dark beneath the white linen. I pull my phone onto my lap. The screen illuminates my face from below. A system-generated email. An automated alert from the Norcrest mainframe. 7:14 p. Right now. Subject. Hi. Automated alert. Restricted subledger access override. My blood goes cold. This isn't a password reset. A subledger is a shadow account, a detailed record kept outside the general ledger. Restricted means it's firewalled from everyone except internal audit and me. An override means someone with C-suite credentials just used a digital skeleton key to force open a door that was supposed to stay locked. This is not a coincidence. This is a reaction. Grandpa dropped a bomb, and in the ensuing chaos, someone ran for the vault. I click the phone off. The screen goes black. I slide it back into my pocket. My hand is perfectly steady as it reemerges. I reach for my own wine glass. The stem is cool against my skin. I raise the glass, a mirror of Victor's defensive posture, but I turn it into a toast. To Grandpa, I say, my voice smooth. 80 years, an incredible legacy. The table murmurs in agreement, grasping for the return to script. To Everett! To Dad! As I sip, the wine tastes like iron. My brain is no longer at the table. It's a white room. I'm at the board. Data point 1, 3.4 M. Hard number, specific. Data point 2, trust fund. Legal instrument, fiduciary duty. Data point 3, Grandpa. The source, the auditor, the test. Data point 4, Victor. The tell, panic, knowledge. Data point 5, Dean. Laughed first, laughed loudest, overcompensation. He's in on it. Data point 6, Aunt Karis. The PR smile, the silence, calculating damage. She's in on it. Data point 7, 7:14 p.m. Alert. The reaction. Someone is covering tracks. Now. They're all in on it. My family, my colleagues. I lower my glass and look back at Everett. He is smiling at me. That same, gentle, grandfatherly smile. But his eyes, they haven't left my face. They are bright, assessing, and stripped of all sentiment. He's not a senile old man. He's an interrogator. He just asked me a question. My response, what trust fund, was the first part of the test. The real test is what I do next. He is grading me. He's asking, are you the compliant little girl they think you are? Or are you the head of compliance I raised you to be? I know, with the chilling certainty of a finalized audit, that something has been kept from me. Something that belongs to me. Something worth $3.4 million. And the people at this table, the people laughing and preparing to sing happy birthday, didn't just hide it. They stole it. And I am the one who writes the reports. I am the one who finds the bodies in the balance sheets. My entire career is built on one simple principle: dragging secrets into the light. I give my grandfather a small, almost imperceptible nod. Acknowledgement. Test received. The light in his eyes sharpens. He knows. I'm on the hunt. The cake is coming. The candles are lit. The room is bright and warm. And I have never felt so cold in my life. The drive home from the Stonebrook Grill is silent. My mother fidgets with the thermostat, but the chill in the car has nothing to do with the air conditioning, the cake, the wine, the laughter. It all curdles into a sour knot in my stomach. The alert on my phone feels like a physical weight in my pocket. Restricted subledger. Access override. Monday morning, 6:05 a.m. The city is still a bruise of purple and gray. Westfall Tower, the headquarters of Norcrest Dynamics, pierces the skyline. It's a monument of glass and steel. 38 stories of engineered indifference. It's our family's cathedral. The lobby is a vast expanse of polished Italian marble that echoes every footstep. An entire wall, the Legacy Wall, is dedicated to the company's history, which is indistinguishable from my family's history. The corporate motto is etched into a bronze plaque beneath a heroic-sized oil painting of my grandfather. Familia alit societatem. Societas alit familiam. The family feeds the company feeds the family. It's a perfect closed loop, a beautiful, self-sustaining ecosystem, unless you're the one being fed on. I bypass the main elevators and use my compliance-level keycard for the secure lift. The ride is silent, fast, my reflection in the dark. Mirrored steel looks back at me, unimpressed. The family is already here, not physically, not at this hour, but their presence is embedded in the building's DNA. My uncle Victor Caro, the CFO, he married into the family but holds the keys to the kingdom. He's a man who speaks in fiscal quarters and EBIT day, a man whose heart rate probably matches the prime interest rate. His office is on the 38th floor, the executive suite. His panic at the dinner, the flinch, the shielding wine glass, was an uncalculated risk, a variable he didn't account for. It was beautiful. My Aunt Caris, his wife, my mother's sister, head of public relations. She curates the Norcrest image, which is to say, she curates the Hale Caro image. She's the one who polishes the Legacy Wall and drafts the press releases about our corporate citizenship. Her smile is a non-compete agreement. Her silence at the dinner was louder than Dean's laughter. It was the sound of rapid, strategic recalculation. And my cousin, Dean Hale, vice president of Risk. The irony is so thick I could choke on it. Dean is a risk. He's arrogance and entitlement poured into a $4,000 suit. He got the job because his father, my other uncle, ran the division before him. His laugh was a bark of genuine surprise. He's not smart enough to have seen Grandpa's question coming, but he's complicit enough to know what it meant. Victor, Caris, Dean, Finance, Public Relations, Risk, the holy trinity of corporate cover-ups. And then there's me, Rowan Hale, head of compliance. I am what they call the only relative on the payroll, the only hired relative, the family member who actually works for a living. I didn't get my job through a bloodline. I got it through a brutal series of interviews after graduating top of my class, summa cum laude, with a dual degree in finance and control systems. I wanted to build them. They put me in charge of policing them. I earned my spot. I submitted a resume. I sat in HR. I negotiated my salary, which I know for a fact is 30% less than the non-family member who held the job before me. My family was relieved. They were proud, in their way. "It's perfect for you, Rowan," Aunt Caris had trilled at a Sunday lunch. "All that detail work, you were always so good at paperwork." It's the family mantra, the unofficial addendum to the bronze plaque in the lobby. Rowan is good with paperwork. Don't let her near the money. They built my cage and called it a career. They positioned me in the one place I could see everything but touch nothing. Head of compliance. It sounds important. It sounds powerful. But at Norcrest, it's a ceremonial role. I'm the hall monitor. I'm the nun with the ruler. My job is to run the ethics seminars, update the employee handbook on data privacy, and ensure our international filings have the right cover sheets. They put me near the door. Far from the throne. I have access. but not authority. I can review the ledgers, but I can't edit them. I can flag a discrepancy, but I can't launch an investigation without the approval of the Risk Committee, which Dean chairs, and the CFO, who is Victor. It's the perfect setup. The one family member with the actual credentials to find a problem is the one person legally firewalled from fixing it. They get to tell the board, "Look, we have a hail in compliance. We police ourselves. I am not an auditor, I am an alibi." The only one who ever saw the flaw in this design was the man who designed the company itself. Grandpa Everett. They pushed him out years ago, retired. Aunt Karis's press release called it, gently transitioned to an advisory role. The truth is, he was forced out. He was, in Victor's words, an analog mind in a digital world, in Dean's. A brake pedal when we're trying to accelerate. He was, in a word, too principled. He built the company on handshakes and a balanced ledger. He believed profit was the result of a good product, not a series of clever financial instruments. When Victor and the new board started talking about SPVs, special purpose vehicles, and offshore collateralization, Grandpa called it what it was, a shell game. So they took his keys and gave him a title, Chairman Emeritus, a ghost to haunt the boardroom. My mother insists he's going senile. He repeats the same stories. Rowan, she said, just last month, frustrated. He asked me 3 times if I'd paid the gardener. His mind is slipping. I don't believe that. I never have. A sharp mind that repeats itself isn't slipping. It's testing. It's checking if the variables have changed. I remember visiting him right after I got my first internship at a rival firm. I was complaining about the grunt work. He was sitting in his study, surrounded by books, not spreadsheets. He looked at me over his glasses. "If something is wrong, Rowan," he said, his voice quiet, "you'll smell it before you see the stain. Most people see a dark spot on the carpet and they run for the cleaner. They want to hide it. They scrub the surface. But you're the one who lifts the carpet. You look for the rot in the floorboards." At the Stonebrook Grill, I smelled the rot. That 3.4 million question wasn't a senior moment. It was a flare, fired into the darkness, just to see who would flinch. The rot has a long history. It's visible, if you know where to look. Back in the lobby, on the legacy wall, there's a timeline. In 2018, Norcrest established the Family Leadership Council, a PR move by Karis, to integrate the next generation. There's a big professionally shot photo. Victor, Karis, Dean, their spouses, even my younger cousins who are still in college, all smiling, all leadership. My name is not on the plaque. I am not in the photo. At the time, I was already a senior analyst in the compliance department. I was, by definition, family and leadership. When I'd pointed it out to Karis, she'd waved her hand, that breezy, dismissive gesture. "Oh, honey, that's for the executive track side. You're on the operations side. It's just a different silo." It wasn't a mistake. It was a statement. An omission is a message. I learned that lesson again, more painfully, 2 years ago. I got the promotion, head of compliance. It was a big step. The internal announcement went out on a Tuesday. My inbox was flooded with congrats from colleagues. That evening, my mother forwarded me an email chain. She did it by accident. I'm sure of it. The subject line was, "Our family soars." It was from Aunt Karis, sent to Victor, Dean, their kids, my uncles, my mother, everyone. "Dearest family," it began. "What a proud day for Norcrest. With Dean's fantastic new oversight of the risk portfolio and now this. We are truly blessed. The family is strong, and the company is stronger for it. We must celebrate." The email had been sent 2 hours after my promotion was announced. It was a celebration of family success, a celebration that forgot me. I never replied. I never mentioned it to my mother. I just stared at the screen, the words blurring. Our family soars. I filed it away, because I learned something from them. I learned the power of silence. My family is loud. They fill every room with their laughter, their opinions, their strategies. They talk to hear themselves think. They talk to convince each other. I stay quiet. Silence is a vacuum. It makes people uncomfortable. They rush to fill it. They over-explain. They justify. They project their own anxieties onto your stillness. Dean will babble to cover his nerves. Karis will flatter to gauge your intent. Victor will deploy jargon to build a wall. If you just wait, if you just hold that silence for one beat longer than they're comfortable with, they will tell you everything you need to know. They will talk themselves right past the point of safety. My office is on the 14th floor. It's a standard issue glass box. The corner office for the department, but still small. I sit down. The leather of my chair groans. The room is dark. I don't turn on the lights. I power on my terminal. The blue glow illuminates my desk. The silence of the weekend is over. The silence of the 14th floor is absolute. I am not the polite niece. I am not the paperwork girl. I am the head of compliance, and someone, at 7:14 p.m. on a Saturday night, forced a lock on my system. I pull up the alert. Restricted subledger access override. User, V. Caro. File. Hale, Edu Trust, 999. Victor. He didn't just run for the vault. He signed the guest book. Okay, Uncle, I whisper to the glowing screen. The silence is over. It's time to lift the carpet. My terminal is a pool of calm. Blue light in the 6:05 a.m. darkness. The first watery rays of the sun are just beginning to touch the glass walls of my office, but the building is cold, the air still. The alert from Saturday night is still on my screen. A digital scar. Hi, automated alert, restricted subledger access override, 7:14 p.m. User, V. Caro. File. Hale, Edu Trust, 999. My Uncle Victor, my CFO. His panic was a beacon. He didn't just flinch at the dinner table. He ran, digitally, to the scene of the crime to see if the body was still buried. I am a compliance officer. I have rules. I do not use an administrator's override. I do not hack. I use the tools I am given. My access is broad. A read-only master key to the company's entire history. I am, after all, the paperwork girl. They gave me the keys to the library, never believing I would read the forbidden books. My fingers move with cold precision. This is a surgical procedure. Run. Audit query. Access. Or crest. Internal audit. Governance archive. Search. Beneficiary registries active. The system returns thousands of files. Employee 401ks, pension plans, executive compensation packages. I filter. Filter, trustee, Hale. E, filter, keyword, trust. A handful of files remain, and there, at the bottom, is the one Victor checked. Hale Edu Trust, 1999. I click it. A digital wall slams down. Access denied. File status, archived, requires level 9. Trustee, sign off. Archived. A lie. An active file, accessed 2 days ago by the CFO, cannot be archived. Archived is a digital tomb. This file is alive. This is a firewall, a deliberate, custom-built obstruction. They didn't just hide the file. They put a digital tripwire on it. I take a different path. I am not trying to open the file. I am performing a compliance review of its containment. I route my access through the Audit Viewer protocol. I am not a user. I am an administrator. The system logs my entry, but it cannot block me. The wall dissolves. The file opens. It's not one document. It's a nest, a core file and a series of addenda, like parasites clinging to a host. I open the root file first. Hale Educational Trust Est, 1999 PDF. The scan quality is terrible. It's a 5th-generation copy, grainy. The text slightly skewed. This is intentional. Its incompetence is camouflage. I scroll to the declarations. Primary trustee, Everett Hale. Funds, X. The initial amount is redacted. Standard procedure. Purpose, educational and professional endowment. I scroll to the beneficiary page. My heart is a cold stone in my chest. Primary beneficiary, R. Hale. Dub 10/18/1994. My birthday, my initial, my last name. But the name itself, it's obscured. There is a second, faint image scanned over the top of the line, a ghosted image of a routing slip, its lines and numbers perfectly covering the beneficiary's full first name. Rowan is illegible, but R and Hale are clear. It's a masterwork of plausible deniability. A simple scanning error, Aunt Karis would say. I know scanning software. This wasn't an error. This was an edit. This is my name. This is my trust. I move to the subledgers, the directories that track the money, the place Victor ran to check. The ledger is clean from 1999 to 2018. Just interest, compounding, growing. Then, 2018. Q4. The year Grandpa Everett was retired. The year Victor took full control of the financials. A new entry appears. 10/29 to 2018. Status change. Temporary collateralization initiated. Asset pledged. Linked entity. Norcrest Special Projects SPV 17. Value $3,400,000. There it is, $3.4 million. My blood doesn't run cold, it evaporates. SPV 17. I know that vehicle, a special purpose vehicle. A legal black box designed to isolate Norcrest from financial risk. It's where you put the gambles you don't want on the main company books. The money wasn't withdrawn, it was pledged. It was used as a chip. My 3.4M was the collateral for one of their high-risk bets. But who authorized it? Grandpa was the primary trustee. He would never. I go back to the file list. I find the private trustee addendum that was tacked onto the file. Addendum 11A. Appointment of successor trustees. Date 08/15/2018. 2 months before the collateralization, 2 months after Grandpa was forced out. The document cites a clause in the original trust. In the event of the primary trustee's incapacitation, retirement, or removal from the board. They used his retirement against him. Successor trustee, finance, Victor Caro, CFO. Successor trustee, risk, Dean Hale, VP. Risk. My uncle, my cousin, the fox and his idiot son, put in charge of the henhouse, my henhouse. My hands are moving faster now. The clicks of the mouse sharp in the silent room. I have the what and the who, now the why. I pull the full activity log for SPV 17. It was created for one purpose, the Axiom Tech acquisition. I remember this. 2019. It was Dean's first big play. Backed by Victor. A hostile takeover of a smaller tech competitor. It was a disaster. The deal imploded. The target company sued, and Norcrest lost millions. It was swept under the rug by Karis's PR team as a strategic realignment. I look at the SPV 17 balance sheet. The numbers are a story written in red ink. 2020 Q1. Axiom deal collapse. Liabilities called. 2020 Q2. Asset seizure. $300,000. Pledge executed. The lender called the collateral, my trust. My money was used to plug the hole in their failed M&A deal. They gambled, they lost, and they made me pay the bill. But this is impossible. A beneficiary must be notified of any change in trustee status. I was never notified. A beneficiary must consent to high-risk collateralization. I never consented. This is not just theft. This is a massive compliance violation. This is fraud. But they're not stupid. Victor is the CFO. Dean is VP of Risk. They know the rules. They would have covered their tracks. I dig deeper into the Hale Edu Trust 999 file. I find it, tucked in a subfolder labeled Archive Com, Form 88B, Notice to Beneficiary, PDF. It's a scan of a certified letter, dated November 1st, 2018. It lays out the temporary collateralization strategy in 6 pages of the most dense, opaque legalese I've ever seen. It's designed to be unreadable. And at the bottom, a certified mail receipt, marked, delivered, 11/04/2018. It was delivered. They have proof. Proof it was delivered to 416B Westmark Plaza, Suite 212 Westfall, VA. I stare at the address. I have never seen it in my life. It's not my apartment. It's not my old dorm. It's nothing. I open a new browser window. I run a corporate entity search on the address. 417B, Westmark Plaza. Suite 212 is a commercial mailbox at a UPS store, 3 towns over. My heart is hammering now. I run a business lease search on the box. Lessee, Westvale Trustees, LLC. A shell company. I've never heard of it. I run Westvale Trustees, LLC through the state's corporate registry. Type, domestic LLC. Status, active. Registered agent. I stop breathing. Registered agent, Dean Hale. He registered a shell company. He leased a mailbox under that company's name. They appointed themselves trustees, then mailed the notification of their high-risk gamble to their own secret mailbox. I sit back. The sun is fully up now, casting long, sharp shadows across my desk. I see it. It's a perfect crime. To any external auditor, the file is clean, a valid trust, a valid addendum appointing new trustees, a valid business action, the pledge, a valid legally required notification sent via certified mail, a valid record of delivery. Every I is dotted, every T is crossed. It's an ironclad, legally defensible structure. It only fails, it only becomes a crime, if the beneficiary, the R. Hale, with the obscured name, stands up in a court of law and says, "I was never notified. That is not my address. That is my cousin's shell company." They built this entire conspiracy on one single, arrogant assumption that I would never look, that the paperwork girl was too stupid, too compliant, too grateful to ever question the family. The rage is a physical thing. It's a white-hot spike in my temples. I want to print everything. I want to march to the 38th floor and throw these pages in their faces. I want to watch them burn. I close my eyes. I take one, deep, shuddering breath. That is what they expect. An emotional outburst, a family matter to be handled privately. If I confront them, I lose. They will deny. Karis will spin. Victor will bury the files so deep not even I can find them again. Dean will play the idiot. They will close ranks. No. This was not a family slight. This was a corporate crime. And it will have a corporate solution. My hands, now perfectly steady, return to the keyboard. Run, Compliance Archive Protocol. Action, Create Secure Package, PDF, Audit, HS. I select the root trust, the addendum, the SPV-17 ledger, the Axiom P&L, the scanned notice, the UPS store lease, the corporate filing for Westvale Trustees LLC. The system bundles them into a single, encrypted, read-only file. It timestamps it. Monday, 6:51 a.m. Then, I run the hash, a SHA-256 algorithm. The system generates a 64-character string of letters and numbers, 4A9F. This is my digital fingerprint. This is my notary. This is my truth. They can alter the logs. They can delete the originals. But they cannot, ever, replicate this hash. This file, in this moment, is sealed. I save the hash code to an air-gapped USB drive. I eject it. I slide the PDF package into a secure, encrypted folder on my personal drive, marked Audit Q4 Prep. I do not call Victor. I do not email Dean. I do not text my mother. I sit in the silence. I let the rage cool and harden, from a fire into a diamond. They built a paper cage. They think I'm still in it. I open my corporate calendar. I am not an accuser. I am an auditor. I begin to build my trap. I have the digital evidence, the hashed, time-stamped, undeniable truth. But truth is not a weapon. It is a component. A weapon must be built. I need an armorer. My first call is not to a lawyer. It's to Madison Pike. Madison is a forensic accountant who moves like a ghost and bites like a shark. We worked a whistleblower case 2 years ago. A mid-level manager at Avarian Logistics found a discrepancy. I brought him in, and Madison was the one who followed the thread from a falsified shipping manifest to an unsecured server in the Cayman Islands. She found the money. She's not on Norcrest's payroll. She's not impressed by my family name, and she hates sloppy accounting. I call her private cell at 7:30 a.m. No email, no text. "Pike," she answers. "Madison, it's Rowan Hale." A pause, the sound of coffee being set down. "This isn't a social call, Rowan. I have a carpet," I say, using our old code. "And I need to lift it. How dirty?" "Rotten," I say. "Shell company, forged consent, illegal collateralization of a trust." Another pause, this one shorter. "Send me the hash package and a private retainer. I'll bill you, not the company. I'll have the bones for you in 24. While Madison excavates the bank records, I hunt the internal beasts. The shell company, Westvale Trustees LLC. The name itself is an insult, a lazy combination of Westfall and Hale. The UPS store address is a dead end, and the LLC was filed by a generic online legal service. But I'm in compliance. I don't just see the front door. I see the plumbing. I don't run a search on the LLC. I run a search on the vendor that paid the filing fee. Click. The fee was paid in November 2018. Not by Norcrest, not by Dean. It was paid by wire transfer from a sole proprietorship I've never heard of. V. Caro Strategic Consulting. I run the name through the internal vendor database. It's listed as an executive services provider. I pull the 1099s. The payments are minimal, just enough to keep it active. Then I check the bank routing number. It's Victor. The account is a personal executive fund, one he uses for discretionary spending. He used his own traceable slush fund account to pay the $500 fee to create the shell company that would legally notify me, at a mailbox he controlled, that he was about to steal my money. It's the height of arrogance, the act of a man who has never been audited. I save a hashed copy of the wire transfer. Next, Aunt Karis, the head of PR, the family spin doctor. She saw the look on my face at the restaurant. She saw Victor flinch. She would have started damage control immediately. I navigate to the PR department's shared drive. Access. PR/drafts, contingency comms internal. As head of compliance, I have read only access to all external-facing materials. This qualifies. I search. Keyword, trust. Keyword, Everett. Click. File. Family Query Response Draft V3. DocX. Last modified. 10:19 p.m. Saturday. Not even 2 hours after the dinner. She left the birthday party and went straight to her laptop. I open the document. It's a draft for an internal use only memo. A set of Q&As prepared for the board and senior leadership. Q. We are hearing rumors of a dispute regarding a Hale family trust. Guidance. This is a private and long-standing family misunderstanding related to an old educational fund. It is a personal matter, not a corporate one. It has zero bearing on Norcrest's financial health or operations. All parties are aligned on this. All parties are aligned. It's a threat, written in corporate speak. Fall in line, Rowan, or we will brand you as confused, emotional, and misinformed. We will make you the problem. I hash the document. Now, Dean, the VP of Risk, the idiot son. My previous search showed the 2018 pledge and the 2020 seizure, but Madison's initial probe adds a new, sharper detail. The M&A deal didn't just fail. It failed so badly that the SEC opened an inquiry in 2021. To close the books and avoid a wider investigation, the SPV-17 losses had to be finalized, buried, and signed off on. I search the SPV-17 archive for its death certificate. Click. File, SPV-17 Loss Allocation Final, PDF, date, October 31, 2021. It's an internal risk acceptance form. It formally accepts the 3.4 OMO loss, closes the SPV, and buries the Axiom Tech disaster for good. It required 2 signatures. First, Dean Hale, VP Risk. His signature is there, a sloppy, arrogant scrawl. Second, R. Hale, Beneficiary. Ref. Hale Edu Trust, 999. And there, on the line, is my name, R. Hale. I stare at it. It's not my signature. It's not even a forgery of my signature. It's a generic, perfect, flowing script, like a font. It's mechanical. I send the PDF to Madison. Her reply is instant. That's not a signature. It's a vector image, generated by a Signatech 1200 auto pen. Check your executive procurement logs. You own one. An auto pen. They didn't even do me the courtesy of faking my name by hand. They didn't hire a forger. They didn't even try. They used the same machine that signs the corporate holiday cards. They stamped me. The Signatech 1200 is kept on the 38th floor. The executive suite, in a small, locked office labeled Notarization Services, a room with a security camera. I pull the access logs. Access, Security, Video Archive, Floor 38, Notary. I search for the date, 10/31/2021, the day the form was signed. Error. No footage available for 10/30/2021, 11/01/2021. Logged. System maintenance. A convenient maintenance window. Dean, as VP of Risk, would have the authority to schedule it. He wiped the video. He's an idiot, but he's not a complete idiot. Except he is. He wiped the video. He forgot to wipe the keycard access log. Access, Security, Keycard log, Floor 38, Notary, 10/31/2021, 11:47 p.m. Access. Granted, user, Hale, Dean, 10/31/2021, 11:47 p.m. Access granted, user, Hale, Dean. He must have let the door close on himself. 10/31/2021, 11:49 p.m. Access. Granted, user, Hale, Dean. He was there, in the room with the auto pen, at 11:47 p.m., on the night my signature was stamped onto a fraudulent document. I hash the keycard log. Click, the lock tightens. I'm deep in the server logs when a new system alert flashes. Access denied. File status, archived. Hale Edu Trust, 999. Victor, he's locking the door. My audit view is still open, but he's building new firewalls. He knows I'm here. An anonymous chat bubble pops up on my screen. A junior assistant in my own department, a kid I'd protected from layoffs last year. User, 1:1092. They're asking questions in Risk. They know you pulled the SPV-17 ledger. I type back, thank you. Stay dark. Log nothing. A moment later, a new message. User, 101.92. They just held a huddle, told us any compliance questions about SPV-17 are not to be answered. We're supposed to log the query and escalate to Risk. They told us not to log our questions. Just the employee asking, Rowan, they're logging you. They are actively obstructing a compliance investigation, a fireable, indictable offense. I hash the chat log. The digital trail is complete, but it's all circumstantial. It's a story of fraud. I need the single, irrefutable fact that makes it a crime. I leave Westfall Tower. The afternoon light is harsh. I drive to my grandfather's house. He's in his study, surrounded by books. He smells of paper and cedar. He doesn't look up when I enter. I ask the question, I say. He slowly closes his book, marking the page with his finger. And I found the trust, I say. I found Victor's shell company. I found Karis's misunderstanding memo. I found Dean's 11:47 p.m. visit to the auto pen. He looks up, His eyes are not the frail, watery eyes from the restaurant. They are sharp. They are the eyes of the man who built an empire. "Good," he says. "You lifted the carpet. You found the rot." "They thought I was just paperwork," I say, my voice rough. "I know. That's why I built the final wall." He reaches into his desk drawer and pulls out a simple black USB drive. It's old, a 2 GB model. He slides it across the polished desk. With it is a small, cream-colored note, folded in half. His sharp, angular handwriting is on it. "Only if you ask the question." I take the drive. I plug it into a firewalled tablet I keep in my bag. One file. Trust Conditions 2019 recorded, MP4. I press play. The image is my grandfather, in this same study. The timestamp is March 15, 2019. After they made themselves trustees, before the M&A deal imploded. He's not alone. His personal lawyer and a notary public are with him. The camera is stationary. He looks directly into the lens. He's not talking to the lawyer. He is talking to me. This serves as a legally binding, recorded addendum to the Hale Educational Trust, 1999, he says. His voice is a low, steady command. I, Everett Hale, primary trustee, having noted the unrequested appointment of successor trustees Victor Caro and Dean Hale, do hereby invoke Clause 7B, beneficiary protection. He leans slightly toward the camera. Any action involving the collateralization, pledging, transfer, or encumbrance of the trust principal, in any amount, requires the direct, informed, and personally recorded video consent of the primary beneficiary. Rowan Hale. A signature, wet or digital, is insufficient. A written waiver is insufficient. I require her face, on camera, stating she understands the risk and agrees to the action. No video, no consent, no action. This condition is absolute and non-negotiable by any successor trustee. The video ends. The notary stamps the document on camera. My hands are shaking. He knew. He anticipated their greed, their arrogance, and their specific, targeted dismissal of me. He set a trap that only they could fall into. They were so busy building their shell companies and forging my name with a machine. They never stopped to read the fine print. They never looked for a video. They never asked me. "No video," I whisper. "No consent," my grandfather replies, which means every action they took is null and void, he finishes. It is not a breach of contract. It is theft, pure and simple. I look at the USB drive in my hand. This is not a breadcrumb. This is the bullet, and I have the gun. I left my grandfather's study with the USB drive in my hand. It was cold, heavy, a small black rectangle of absolute truth. The drive back to my apartment wasn't filled with rage. That had burned off, leaving behind a cold, clear, industrial focus. The people who did this to me, Victor, Dean, Karis, they weren't just thieves. They were lazy. They were arrogant. They built their entire conspiracy on the assumption that I was a piece of scenery, the paperwork girl, the compliant niece. They were about to learn what compliance really means. They wanted a private family matter to smooth over. I was going to give them a public execution. My target? The Norcrest Dynamics Quarterly. All hands meeting. In 9 days. It's the one time all 800 employees are mandated to be in the atrium or watching the mandatory live stream. It is the company's biggest stage. It would be theirs. I didn't sleep. I executed. Phase 1. The bait. My first move was an email, sent at 4:02 a.m., not to Victor or Dean, to Aunt Karis. I CC'd the CEO, the COO, and the entire executive committee. Subject: Initiative, Norcrest, Transparency Week. Karis, I was so inspired by your Transparency Week memo. The commitment to open dialogue is exactly what this company needs. In that spirit, I am volunteering to move my standard Q3 compliance review from a simple memo to a live, open session during the all hands. I'll walk through a recent case study on fiduciary responsibility and internal controls. We should lead by example. To ensure all 800 employees benefit, I strongly recommend we live stream the session to all company channels. Let me know if you disagree, but this seems like a perfect win for your transparency initiative. Rowan. I hit send. It was a masterpiece of corporate poison. She was trapped. Her entire brand was transparency. She couldn't publicly refuse a request for more transparency. To her, this was just me, the paperwork girl, being an overeager beaver, trying to get some stage time. She would see it as harmless. Her reply came at 7:15 a.m. What a wonderful idea. Rowan, ambitious, approved. I'll add you to the agenda. Make it shine. She just handed me the gun, the stage, and the microphone. Phase 2. The cage. While they were approving my agenda item, I was locking the evidence. At 7:30 a.m., I logged into the compliance portal and triggered a mandatory, non-negotiable, legal document hold notice. This wasn't an email. It was a digital bomb. It went to Victor, Dean, Karis, their entire departments, and the IT mainframe. Pier 17, CFR FAR 240 PAS, ETA 14, and pending internal audit, all digital and physical records, communications, emails, chat logs, and server data related to the following entities are hereby placed on immediate legal hold. 1. Hale Edu Trust, 1999. 2. SPV 17, Axiom. 3. Westvale Trustees, LLC. 4. V. Caro Strategic Consulting. All automated deletion protocols for these files are hereby suspended. All access to these files will be logged. Any attempt to alter, delete, or obstruct access to these records will be considered a willful violation of federal securities law and will be escalated to external counsel. The system confirmed delivery. I pictured the panic. Victor, in his 38th floor office, seeing his personal slush fund named Dean, seeing his shell company, Karis, realizing her misunderstanding memo was now frozen, unable to be deleted. They could no longer destroy the 11:47 p.m. keycard log. They couldn't wipe the AutoPen record. They couldn't delete the server alert from the birthday dinner. I had just frozen the crime scene. They were trapped inside it. Phase 3. The witness. I couldn't be the only accuser. I needed an external, unimpeachable authority in the room. I called Madison Pike. The trap is set, I told her. The all hands is in 9 days. I need you on that stage. I'm an accountant, Rowan, not a keynote speaker, she grumbled. You are today. I'm listing you as an external ethics auditor who is giving a guest lecture on corporate malfeasance and fiduciary duty. I'm sending the formal invitation now. A pause. That's aggressive. They used an AutoPen. Madison. I'll be there, she said. Black suit or gray? Black, I said. I sent the formal invitation through HR, copying the executive team. Victor and Dean would see her name. They would see her credentials. Certified fraud examiner. They would know exactly what she was. But they couldn't block her. How could the CFO and VP of Risk possibly object to an ethics expert the head of compliance, had invited? They would have to sit there and sweat. Phase 4. The fail-safe. This was my insurance policy. If they cut the mics, if the CEO stopped me, if they had security escort me out, the bomb would still go off. I drove to a public library 2 towns over. I used a Tor browser. I logged into the SEC's anonymous whistleblower portal. I wrote a simple, cold summary. To the Division of Enforcement, C-suite executives at Norcrest Dynamics, CFO Victor Caro, VP Risk Dean Hale, have engaged in wire fraud, conspiracy, and securities violations. They created a shell company, Westvale Trustees LLC, to fraudulently serve notice to themselves as successor trustees of a beneficiary trust. They then illegally pledged 3.4 MS from this trust as collateral for a high-risk M&A deal, SPV 17, which failed. They covered the loss with the trust's funds, forging beneficiary consent, R. Hale, using an AutoPen. Then, I uploaded the zipped, hashed file, the trust, the shell company registration, the wire transfer from Victor's slush fund, the AutoPen signature, the 11:47 p.m. keycard log, the chat logs proving obstruction, and the centerpiece, Trust Conditions 2019 recorded, MP4, my grandfather's face, his unbreakable video consent clause. I hit submit. The system returned a case number, TCR 1677491B. The U.S. government was now my silent partner. Phase 5. The psychological warfare. The rest was stagecraft. I sent a personal, encrypted note to my grandfather's phone. One line, I smelled the rot. I'm lifting the carpet. Publicly. He didn't reply. He didn't need to. I used the official all-hands seating chart. I reserved the entire front row. Center section. I sent a new calendar invite to Victor, Karis, Dean, and my mother. Subject, honoring our family leadership. I've reserved the front row for you. As the pillars of this company and our family, it's only fitting you be front and center for this important session on transparency. I marked them as guests of honor. They couldn't refuse. They would be seated directly below me, in the line of fire. I put in a work order with the AV team. Request, 1 additional stationary camera, wide angle, focused on the front row guest of honor section. Purpose, to capture audience engagement for our Transparency Week sizzle reel. The tech approved it. That camera would not be on me. It would be on them. It would capture every flinch, every bead of sweat, every horrified glance when they realized what I was doing. I also added a sign-in sheet at the front row entrance for VIP check-in, a formality, but it would require them to physically sign their names, a fresh 2025 signature sample, delivered right into Madison's hands, just in case Dean tried to claim the 2021 AutoPen was his. The night before the all-hands, I built the deck, 10 slides. It was clean, clinical, white background, black text. It wasn't an accusation. It was a case study. Slide 1. Trust is an action. Slide 2. What is a special purpose vehicle? Slide 3. Case study. SPV 17. The axiom failure. Slide 4. The problem. The 3.4M deficit. Slide 5. The solution. Collateralization. Slide 6. The control. Fiduciary duty. Slide 7. The breach, a forged consent. Slide 8. The obstruction, a shell company. Slide 9. The final control, Clause 7B. Slide 10. The 10th slide was blank. It was where the video would play. Finally, I prepared my uniform. I chose a suit of severe charcoal gray. No, not gray. The color of ash. I put on a simple white blouse, and for my jewelry box, I took a small, sterling silver lapel pin. It was an H, styled as a bridge, my grandfather's original logo for Norcrest. From before they rebranded, he gave it to me when I graduated. I pinned it to my lapel. It was a signal, a promise, not to them, to him. I was ready. The atrium on the 40th floor is a glass cathedral built for sun worshippers and stock tickers. Today, it's an arena. The light is a harsh, clinical white, streaming in from the floor-to-ceiling windows, bleaching the expensive gray carpet. 800 employees are packed into the seating, their faces turned upward, expectant. They are here for the quarterly numbers and a pep talk from the CEO. They are about to get a public execution. On the massive, 30-foot screen above the stage, the Norcrest logo idles. In the back, a small, bright red light is on. The live stream is active. Every employee in every satellite office from Boston to Bangalore is watching. I am standing stage left. Madison Pike is seated behind me, her face impassive, a folder in her lap. My eyes are on the front row. They are seated, as requested. My guests of honor, Aunt Karis, in a bright fuchsia jacket, her smile already in place. Uncle Victor, next to her, checking his watch. The picture of C-suite importance. My cousin Dean, beside him, looking bored. scrolling on his phone. My mother, at the end, looking nervous, as she always does at these things. And in the chair next to her, separated by a small, deliberate gap, is my grandfather, Everett Hale. He is sitting perfectly still, hands folded on his cane, staring at the stage. My name is called. I walk to the podium. The sound of my heels on the stage is a sharp, percussive click, click, click. I place my laptop down. I plug in the HDMI. My reflection swims on the dark screen. The charcoal suit, the white blouse, the small silver H pin on my lapel. I look out, 800 faces, and the 4 in the front row. I grip the sides of the lectern. "Good morning," I say. My voice is calm. It does not shake. "My name is Rowan Hale, and I am your head of compliance." A polite, scattered applause. "Today is about trust." The room settles. The applause dies. This is my part of the program. The boring ethics training. People are already checking their phones. In the front row, Dean stifles a yawn. "Trust," I continue, "is not a feeling. It is an action. It is a demonstrable, auditable event. It is a control. When that control fails, we don't just have a breach of ethics, we have a failure of the entire system." I click to slide 2. What is a fiduciary? Boring, academic, safe. I talk for 2 minutes about the legal definition. I can feel the collective energy of the room sinking. Good. Let them get comfortable. I click to slide 3. Case study. SPV 17. The slide is just a flowchart, a series of boxes and arrows, showing a holding company, a capital flow line, and a massive $3.4 million deficit. No names, no project titles, just the raw, cold numbers, in the front row. I see Uncle Victor nod, a slow, condescending dip of the chin. He thinks I'm smart. He thinks I'm showing a hypothetical case study, a generic example of a deal gone bad. He thinks I'm a good little teacher. "This vehicle," I say, "was designed to absorb risk, but in 2020, that risk became a $3.4 million liability, a black hole, a debt that had to be paid." I click to slide 4. The solution, pledged collateral. The vehicle's managers found a solution, a private third-party asset, pledged as collateral to cover the loss. The deal was saved. The books were balanced. A clean, simple solution. The room is half asleep. I have them exactly where I want them. "But compliance," I say, my voice hardening, "is not about the clean solution. It's about the dirty process. So we audit." I click to slide 5. The 11:47 p.m. problem. The screen changes. It's no longer a flowchart. It's a screenshot, a black and white text log. /access. House security. Keycard log. Floor 38. Notary. 10/31/2021. 11:47 p.m. Access granted. User, Hale, Dean. A murmur ripples through the atrium. It's the first sound they've made. People are sitting up. I glance at the front row. Dean has frozen. His phone still in his hand. He is staring at his own name, 30 feet high. "This," I say, "is the keycard log for the Notarization Services Office, the room where the company auto pen is kept. It was accessed at 11:47 p.m., on the same night the loss allocation form for SPV 17 was signed and finalized." I click again. The log disappears. A grainy, black and white video begins to play. No sound. It's the security feed from the 38th floor hallway. At 11:47 p.m., a figure walks into frame. It's Dean. He looks up and down the empty hall. He swipes his card. The light on the door turns green. He enters. The video loops. Dean. The empty hall. The swipe. The door. Dean. Swipe. Door. The murmur is louder now. It's the sound of 800 people realizing this is not a drill. Dean is no longer looking at the screen. He is staring at his lap. His face is the color of chalk. I click to slide 6. The forged consent. The screen splits into 2. On the left, a scan of the 2021 loss allocation form. The signature line is blown up. R. Hale. It is perfect. Flowing. mechanical. On the right, a scan of the VIP sign-in sheet from this morning. Dean's, Victor's, and Karis's fresh signatures. The signatures don't match, not even close. This signature, I say, pointing to the 2021 form, was used to sign away $3.4 million in beneficiary assets. It was presented as valid consent. I click again. Madison Pike's forensic report floods the screen. A big red box highlights the R. Hale signature. Analysis: non-human, vectored image. Source: Signatech 1200 AutoPen. Conclusion: forgery, mechanical. The room is dead. Silent. The air has been sucked out of it. The temperature has dropped 20 degrees. This is not an ethics lesson. This is an accusation. I let the silence hang. 1 beat, 2, then I click to slide 7. The final control, clause 7B. The screen goes black. For a second. The only sound is the hum of the ventilation, and then my grandfather's face. He fills the 30-foot wall. He is not the frail 80-year-old in the front row. This is Everett Hale from 2019. The founder, the architect. His eyes are steel. His voice, amplified by the PA system, is a physical force. It hits the back wall and echoes. This serves as a legally binding recorded addendum to the Hale Educational Trust, 1999. In the front row, Victor's head snaps up. Karis's hand flies to her mouth. I, Everett Hale, primary trustee. Grandpa's voice booms over the silent, stunned crowd. Do hereby invoke Clause 7B, beneficiary protection. He leans into the camera. He is looking at all 800 of them. He is looking at me. Any action involving the collateralization, pledging, transfer, or encumbrance of the trust principal requires the direct, informed, and personally recorded video consent of the primary beneficiary, Rowan Hale. He says my name. The sound of it, Rowan Hale, hits the room like a gunshot. My mother makes a small, strangled noise. Grandpa on the screen is not done. A signature, wet or digital, is insufficient. A written waiver is insufficient. I require her face, on camera. This condition is absolute and non-negotiable by any successor trustee. The video cuts. The screen goes black. The silence that follows is absolute. It is a vacuum. Not one person is looking at the screen. Every single one of the 800 employees in the room, their heads are turned. They are all staring at the front row, at my family. I look at them. The camera I installed, the audience engagement camera, is feeding a small, perfect image to the corner of the live stream. I can see it on my monitor. The world can see it. Dean is sweating, not a glisten. He is visibly, profusely sweating, wiping his forehead with a shaking hand. Aunt Karis. Her smile is still there. It's a rictus, a painted-on, grotesque mask of terror. Her eyes wide, her fuchsia jacket suddenly looking garish and loud. And Uncle Victor. He is not sweating. He is not smiling. He is rigid. His face is purple with contained rage. His hands are gripping the armrests of his chair. His knuckles so white they look like bone. He is staring at me, his eyes promising murder. I step out from behind the podium. I am just a person on a stage. I unclip the small black microphone from my lapel. I hold it in my hand. My voice is quiet, but the system carries it to every corner. There was no video. I pause. The beneficiary on that forged document, the R. Hale, whose assets were illegally seized to cover a corporate failure. I let the words hang. I look at Victor. That beneficiary never consented. I take a breath, and she is me. A collective gasp, a unified, sharp intake of air from 800 people. It's done. The secret is out. My mother is openly crying now, her hand over her mouth, looking from me to Victor and back again, her face a mask of horrified confusion. I look to the end of the row, to my grandfather. He is no longer slumped. He is sitting perfectly, ramrod straight. His watery eyes are gone. They are clear. They are bright. They are ignited. He knows. He is watching the man he built his company for, and the man who tried to steal it, sitting side by side. His eyes meet mine. He doesn't smile. He gives me one. Slow, deliberate nod. Test passed. I turn back to the audience. I look straight into the main camera. The red light. I raise the clicker. I press next. The sound of my voice saying me hangs in the air. A physical object. The silence in the atrium is no longer stunned. It's heavy. It's judgmental. The herd has turned. I am still holding the clicker. I press it. Slide 8. The screen, which was black, floods with white. It's a scanned document, the seal of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission is at the top, bold and unmistakable. The text is simple. Official notice. Whistleblower complaint received. And a case number. TCR 1677491B. I had redacted my own name, but the message was a nuclear bomb. The SEC was already here. This wasn't an internal matter. I hadn't just reported them to HR. I had reported them to the federal government. A sound rips through the silence. Not a word. A guttural, animal noise of pure rage. No! Uncle Victor. He is on his feet. The chair he was sitting in screeches backward on the marble floor. His face is a dark, terrifying purple. His $4,000 suit is rumpled. The mask of the calm, collected CFO is gone, burned away. End this stream, now! He roars, pointing not at me, but at the AV booth in the back. End it! The AV techs freeze. All 800 employees turn from the front row to look at the man who is screaming. The live stream camera holds steady. End this! This is a slanderous. We recommend keeping the cameras on. The voice is new. It's sharp, cool, and amplified. Madison Pike. She has stood up from her chair and walked to the second podium. The guest speaker. She looks at Victor, her face a mask of professional disinterest. As an external auditor, in a situation involving potential securities fraud and executive malfeasance, turning off a live feed could be interpreted as a willful act of obstruction. I would advise against it. Victor freezes, caught between his rage and her cold. Legal threat. He just confirmed his own guilt to 800 people. A flash of fuchsia. Aunt Karis. She's moving. She's learned from Victor's mistake. She isn't yelling. She's employing the PR strategy. De-escalate. Contain. She's not running to the AV booth. She's running to the stage. She's coming at me. Rowan, stop this, she hisses. Her voice a stage whisper that the mic picks up anyway. She gets to the steps of the stage, her hand outstretched. This is not the place. This is a family matter. She tries to grab my arm. I step back, cleanly, breaking contact. It was a company matter, I say, my voice like ice. The moment you use $3.4 million of trust assets to plug a hole in a corporate SPV, I turn to the audience. It became a company matter when you used company resources, I point at the screen with the keycard log, to commit fraud. You didn't use family as a shield. You used it as a cover. It's a misunderstanding. That voice, it's thin, wheezing. Dean, he's on his feet too. But he's not aggressive like Victor. He's terrified. He's trying to smile. And it's the most horrifying expression in the room. Rowan, come on. It's just paperwork. A simple misunderstanding. I turn my head and look at him. I don't say a word. I just lift the clicker. I press previous. Slide 5. The grainy black and white video of him in the hallway at 11:47 p.m. I let it play. Dean, swipe, door. I press previous again. Slide 6. The auto pen signature, R, Hale. I press next. Slide 5 again. Dean, swipe, door. I let the loop run, back and forth. Forgery, hallway, forgery, hallway. Dean's misunderstanding smile collapses. He sits down, hard, as if his legs have given out. He just puts his head in his hands. The sound of whispering is frantic now. On the live stream chat, the comments are exploding. Transparency Week indeed. Holy S. The CFO and VP of Risk. Did she just? Rowan Hale for CEO. A new group is on its feet. The legal department, 3 lawyers in identical Navy suits, huddled near the exit. The company's general counsel, a man named Merrick, is speaking into his phone. He looks pale. He whispers to his team. One of them, a junior associate, runs toward the stage. Ms. Hale, we need to adjourn. This session is over. We need to move to a private. We need to disclose, I say, cutting him off. He stops, 6 feet away from me. Disclosure, I say, is the final step of compliance. This is not an accusation. This is a disclosure. I click to slide 9. It's a wall of text. Compliance action. Immediate pending external investigation. Refer. TCR 1677491B. 1. Temporary administrative leave. Non-voluntary. CFO Victor Caro. 2. Temporary administrative leave. Non-voluntary. VP. Risk. Dean Hale. 3. All parent external communications to be handled by third-party counsel. 4. Forensic audit to be initiated by external auditor. Pike. 5. All access to notarization services and autopen suspended. This is not a request. This is a directive. I am the head of compliance. I am reporting a crime. I have just triggered the company's own emergency protocols. Merrick, the general counsel, reads the slide. He looks at me. He looks at Victor, who is still standing, vibrating with fury. He looks at Dean, who is slumped over. Merrick makes a decision. He is a lawyer first, a colleague second. He nods once, curtly, to me. He is no longer my enemy. He is in damage control mode. He speaks into his phone. Get security to the 38th floor. Now. Seal the offices of Caro and Hale. No, I don't care if he's still in the atrium. Seal his office. Victor hears him. He knows. It's over. He doesn't rage. He just deflates. The purple drains from his face, leaving a sickly gray pallor. He looks, for the first time, old. I have 1 slide left. I click, slide 10. The screen is black, and then a high-resolution, black and white portrait of my grandfather, Everett Hale, from 1980. The founder, young, sharp, and hungry. Below the image, 5 words appear. Trust is an action. I look at my grandfather, the real one, in the front row. He's looking past me, at the screen, at his own, younger face. Then he turns his head. He finds the audience engagement camera, the one I ordered, the one feeding his image to the entire global 800-person live stream. He knows he's on camera. He knows the company is watching him. He looks directly into the lens, and he nods, once, a firm, final, definitive gesture of approval. The founder has given his verdict. I turn back to the podium. My work here is done. I close my laptop. The 30-foot screen goes black. The atrium is silent, waiting. I pick up the microphone one last time. The compliance review is complete. Thank you for your time. The atrium was chaos. Security was quietly, firmly escorting a gray-faced Victor and a shell-shocked Dean from the front row. Aunt Karis was frozen, her phone buzzing in her hand, as Merrick, the general counsel, spoke to her in low, urgent tones. My mother was being tended to by my grandfather's personal assistant. I didn't stay to watch. I packed my laptop. Madison Pike gave me a curt, professional nod. "They'll be in touch," she said, and she was gone, a ghost in a black suit. I went to the 38th floor boardroom. The emergency meeting had been called before my final slide went black. The room was cold. The vast, polished mahogany table reflected the sterile, recessed lighting. This was where the real power sat. There were no 800 employees here, just 10 people. Marcus Thorne, the independent chairman, sat at the head of the table, a former federal judge. He was a man who radiated a septic calm. The rest of the non-family board members, Merrick, the general counsel, already on a conference call with external counsel, and my grandfather, sitting not as a board member, but as a material witness, the chairman emeritus. I was given a seat at the foot of the table, the one usually reserved for junior note-takers. It was a tactical, intentional placement. "Ms. Hale," Thorne said. His voice was flat, not angry, not congratulatory, a judge asking for the facts. "I trust your public performance was backed by a more formal brief. I am requesting your finding memo." "I have it here," I said. I slid 4 copies across the table, 4 pages. That's all it took. Page 1, Executive Summary and Timeline of Events. Page 2, List of Violations, Wire Fraud, Securities Fraud, Breach of Fiduciary Duty, Conspiracy, Willful Obstruction of a Compliance Audit. Page 3, Evidence Index, Hale, Edu Trust, 1999, SPV 17, Westvale, C. V. Caro. Wire. Auto pen log. Keycard log, 11:47 p.m. Page 4, Recommended Actions, the slide I had just shown. No emotion, no, I felt, just facts, dates, and the corresponding sections of the U.S. code they had violated. I placed the encrypted USB drive on the table, and this, the binding 2019 video addendum, Clause 7b. The room was silent for 10 minutes. The only sound was the rustle of paper as they read. Merrick, on his conference call, was scribbling notes. Finally, he muted his phone. "Mr. Chairman." Thorne looked at him. "I have preliminary findings from our external counsel at Sullivan and Cromwell. They have reviewed the core documents Ms. Hale's audit uncovered." He took a breath. "The pledge of the trust assets as collateral, lacking the explicit recorded consent required by the 2019 addendum, is, in their words, categorically invalid and fully voidable. Voidable, the legal kill shot." Thorne nodded once. He looked at the recommendations on page 4. The board accepts the finding that a full separation of operations from the involved family members is necessary during this investigation. He looked at the other board members. "We will table a vote to appoint an interim chief risk officer, non-family, effective immediately. All in favor?" A chorus of "E." Motion carries. A frantic knock on the boardroom door. A security guard's face appeared. "Sir, Mr. Caro is demanding to be heard." Victor. Thorne didn't even turn his head. "Mr. Caro is on administrative leave. He has no standing in this room. See him out of the building." The door closed. Just like that, a man who had ruled this floor for a decade was erased. "Ms. Hale," Thorne said, turning back to me. "Your memo is thorough. The board will take these corporate actions under advisement." He was preparing to dismiss me. "Mr. Chairman," I said, my voice cutting into the procedural calm, "I have one additional request. As the beneficiary." The room tensed. This was the shift. I was no longer just the head of compliance. I was the injured party. "The board has a fiduciary duty to the company, but I am here as the beneficial owner of the Hale Educational Trust. The $3.4 million plus compounded interest and punitive damages was illegally removed. I am formally requesting this board open proceedings to reclaim those funds from SPV 17 and will, if the SPV's assets are insufficient, from the personal assets of the trustees who authorized the illegal transfer." I looked at Merrick. "I want a full clawback. I want my money." The silence that followed was different. It was the sound of a shark breaking the water. This wasn't just about punishment. This was about restitution. My grandfather, who had not spoken a single word, made his move. He slid a thick cream-colored envelope across the mahogany. It stopped directly in front of me. My name, Rowan Hale, was written on the front in his sharp, angular script. Thorne looked at him. "Everett?" "A private matter," my grandfather said, "which Ms. Hale will now make public." He nodded at the envelope. There was a note I attached. It said, "Open if you did this publicly." You did. My hands were steady. I broke the wax seal. Inside, there was no letter, just one, single, notarized document. Appointment of successor, trustee. Hale Educational Trust, 1999. My eyes scanned the text. In the event of a material breach of fiduciary duty, including but not limited to conspiracy, fraud, or gross negligence, by the acting successor trustees. Victor Caro, Dean Hale. All rights and authorities are hereby revoked, effective immediately upon discovery and presentation of said breach, and all powers are hereby transferred, absolutely and irrevocably, to the new, sole successor trustee, Rowan Hale. It was dated March 15, 2019, the same day he recorded the video. He hadn't just set a trap. He had already written the execution order. I accept, I said. My voice was clear. I took a pen from the center of the table. I found the signature line. I, Rowan Hale, hereby accept the role of successor trustee. I signed my name. Thorne, Merrick, the entire board watched. Mr. Merrick, I said, not looking up. For the record, please note that the internal video conference camera is recording. This serves as my binding acceptance, publicly witnessed. I slid the signed document, the final seal, to the chairman. I stood up. The meeting wasn't over, but my part in it was. I walked to the heavy oak doors. I thought of the first day Victor had shown me this room. I was an intern. Big decisions. Rowan, he'd said, patting me on the head. Nothing for you to worry about. You're good with paperwork, not money. I pushed the door open. The power was behind me. I had just signed for $3.4 million. The door clicked shut, sealing me on the outside, with the keys to the vault in my pocket. I left the boardroom. The door closed behind me. A heavy, definitive sound. The adrenaline that had felt like ice in my veins was beginning to recede, leaving an ocean-deep exhaustion in its wake. My grandfather was waiting for me. He was standing by the 38th floor elevator bank, alone. His assistant was gone. The chaos of the atrium was floors below us, a problem for lawyers and security. Up here, it was silent. He watched me walk toward him. His face was unreadable. He hadn't praised me in the boardroom. He had simply been a witness. I stopped in front of him. I was still holding the signed appointment, my appointment as my own trustee. You knew, I said. It wasn't a question. At the birthday dinner, you knew. He nodded, his pale blue eyes holding mine. I did. You set a test. I set a flare, he corrected me, his voice quiet but rough, like stones. I didn't know what was in the dark. Rowan, but I knew something was. I knew Victor and Dean were using the company as their private bank. I was too principled. They said, too old. They locked me out of the ledgers, but they couldn't lock me out of the family. He gestured toward the atrium, far below. So, I lit the match. I asked the question, a question with a very specific number. His eyes sharpened, the way they had in the video. In a room full of thieves, the innocent man asks, "What are you talking about?" The guilty man says, "Be quiet," or he flinches. Your mother told me to be quiet. Victor flinched. And me? I asked. You asked the right question. What trust fund? He almost smiled. You were innocent, but you were also listening. You heard the number. You saw the flinch. I knew you would. We stood in the silence for a moment. The video, I said. Clause 7B. You recorded that in 2019. I did. You knew they would come for it. I knew they would try, he said. They are weak, and weak men love easy money. They love the authority of a signature, especially a signature that isn't theirs. They think in terms of paperwork, of loopholes. So I built them a loophole that was actually a noose, a video consent clause. He leaned a fraction closer, a trap that could only be sprung by the one person they were trained to ignore. You? They spent a decade telling you that you were just paperwork. They never imagined you would actually read it. The weight of it settled on me. The years of being overlooked, the legacy wall photo I was left out of. The email celebrating family success that forgot me. It wasn't just a slight, it was their entire strategy. You wanted me to do it publicly, I said. You could have just given me the USB drive. We could have handled this with lawyers, privately. His face hardened. The warmth was gone, replaced by the steel that built this tower. No, the word was absolute. If you had come to me and I had gone to Victor, what would have happened? A private negotiation, a quiet repayment, a non-disclosure agreement. They would have paid the money back into your trust, and you would have been sworn to secrecy. You would have been like them. He let that land. You would have been complicit in the cover-up. Protecting the family name, you would have traded your silence for your money, and they would have kept their seats. They would have kept the company, and they would have hated you for it. He shook his head. A small, sharp movement. The only way to fix rot is with sunlight. You don't bargain with it, you burn it out. You didn't hide, Rowan. You didn't bargain. You didn't become them. The elevator chimed. The doors opened. We didn't move. Why that number? I asked. The question that had been burning in me since the dinner. Why $3.4 million? A thin, dry smile touched his lips. In 2018, that was the exact amount Victor needed for his Axiom Tech deposit. But it was also the perfect number. Perfect? It was enough to tempt, he said. A life-changing amount of money for a normal person. Enough for Dean to get stupid, for Victor to get greedy. But it was not enough to sink the company. His eyes met mine. Not unless the person who took it, and the people who covered it up, were so arrogant and so foolish that they allowed the theft to be exposed in a quarterly all-hands meeting in front of 800 employees and the SEC, he shrugged. It was just enough rope. I looked down at the pin on my lapel, the silver H, my signal to him. He saw me touch it. He reached into his own coat pocket. He pulled out a small velvet box. You wore that pin, he said, nodding at my lapel. The one I gave you at your graduation. A good luck charm. He opened the box. Inside, on a bed of faded black velvet, was another pin. It looked identical, but older. The silver was heavier, the edges softer with wear. This one, he said, is mine. The one I wore the day I signed the incorporation papers in 1980. He took it out. It was heavy. I told everyone it was an H for Hale. It wasn't. It's a bridge. It symbolizes a trust, a structure built to carry something valuable safely from one side to the other. I told them it was a logo. It was a promise. He held it out to me. Trust made visible. You earned it, not because of your name, but because of your actions. I unfastened the pin I was wearing and handed it to him. He put it in the box. Then, with a steady hand, he fastened his own original pin to my lapel. It felt heavy, solid. There, he said. I looked down at the document in my hand, the signed appointment. My first act as trustee, I said, my voice low. Yes? I'm voiding every pledge. I'm instructing Merrick and the board to file for full recovery of the principal, all lost interest, and punitive damages. They will liquidate the SPV. And what it can't cover, they will claw back from Victor and Dean personally. My grandfather's smile was thin, but it was real. Now you hold your own ledger. Rowan, you always should have. The elevator doors slid shut. We were alone again. I let out a breath I had been holding since Saturday night. I was scared, I admitted. The words felt strange. Good, he said, not missing a beat. I looked at him, surprised. You weren't scared, he clarified. You had fear. They are different things. Fear is a reaction. Scared is a state of being. Fear is the sensor telling you the stove is hot. Scared is refusing to cook. You had fear, and you used it. It made you meticulous. It made you build a case that was iron. Fear is correct. Rowan, courage is not the absence of fear. It is continuing, precisely, while you are feeling it. He pressed the call button for the elevator. You were afraid, and you were brave. They are not opposites. They are partners. The doors opened. We stepped inside. We didn't go down. We rode to the lobby. On the ground floor, we walked out into the vast marble expanse. The atrium, 40 floors up, was being cleared, but down here, all was quiet. We stood in front of the legacy wall, the bronze plaque, Familia Alit Societatem, Societas Alit Familiam, the large oil painting of a younger Everett, and the timeline. The 2018 photo of the Family Leadership Council, Victor, Karis, Dean, smiling, my name, still absent. My grandfather looked at the plaque. A family that feeds on its own company will starve it. A company that feeds a corrupt family deserves to die. He looked at the photo. Then he looked at me. Your name is not on this wall. Rowan. I know, I said. Good. Your name is on the ledger. It's on the SEC complaint. It's on the trustee appointment. It's on the clawback order. He tapped the wall, his finger hitting the empty space next to Dean's smiling, ignorant face. This is just paper. It's PR. It's what Karis wanted the world to see. He turned and faced me fully. You just showed them the truth. Go. Your office is waiting. The real one. He was right. I was no longer the girl on the 14th floor. I was the trustee of a multi-million-dollar fund, and I had just decapitated the C-suite. I wasn't the paperwork girl. I was the one who held the pen. I left him there, standing in front of his own legacy, and walked toward the elevators to begin my work. I did not go back to my office on the 14th floor. I did not go to the boardroom. I went back to the atrium. The CEO was at the podium, his voice hollow, reading a pre-written statement from the General Counsel. Words like internal review, interim leadership, and commitment to our values. It was noise, white noise to fill the vacuum. I walked out onto the mezzanine, the glass and steel balcony that overlooked the main floor. The employees were still there. They were not at their desks. They were not in the aisles. They were standing, packed along the railings of the 40th, 1st, and 42nd floors, looking down, a coliseum of silent witnesses. As I walked to the edge, a space cleared for me, the whispers stopped, the sea of faces parted, 800 people, utterly, profoundly silent. Below, on the main floor, the elevator doors opened. 2 security guards, not the usual building security but the external firm reserved for hostile terminations, stepped out. Between them was Victor. His tie was loose, his face a gray, waxy mask. He carried nothing. Behind him, Dean, his eyes red and vacant, his suit jacket crumpled in his hand. They were walked, not in handcuffs, but the message was the same. The long, humiliating walk across the polished marble floor, past the legacy wall, and toward the exit. As they passed the PR station, I saw Aunt Karis. She was not with them. She was surrounded by the legal team. Her face bowed down. The audience engagement camera I had ordered was still on. It was zoomed in, capturing her, the great communicator, utterly silent, her face hidden from the lens she had spent her life trying to master. I was still the head of compliance. I had one final duty. I walked to the central atrium microphone, the one used for company-wide announcements. I pressed the on button. A soft thump echoed through the vast space. Every head, every single one, snapped toward me. "Disclosure complete," I said. My voice, amplified, was solid. It did not shake. "Controls are restored." It was a statement of fact. The system was clean. The infection was cut out. As I took my hand off the microphone, my phone vibrated in my pocket. I pulled it out. An email. Not from the board, not from legal. It was a system-generated alert from the bank. Subject: confirmed. Asset reversion. Hale Educational Trust, 1999. Status: completed. All pledges voided. All encumbrances released. Current principal: $3,400,000. Trustee: active. Hale. Rowan. I read the number. I read my name. I looked up. The main live stream camera, the one that broadcast to the world, was still on. The little red light was a single, burning eye. I looked directly into it. I thought of the 800 people watching me, and the thousands more in the satellite offices. I thought of the paperwork girl they all thought I was. I was never after their seats, I said, my voice quiet, but carrying in the silence. I was only after the truth. A shadow fell beside me. I didn't turn. I didn't have to. My grandfather, he came to stand beside me, at the railing, looking out over the company he had built. He didn't speak. He didn't smile. He just, slowly, lifted his hand and placed it on my shoulder. A single point of contact, a gesture of solidarity, of succession. He left it there for 1 second, 2, just long enough for the camera, just long enough for the entire watching world to see whose side he was on. The founder had chosen. I reached up to my monitor. I clicked the mouse. I ended the stream. The little red light on the camera blinked, and then it went out. The show was over. I looked down at my phone, at the bank confirmation, at my name. I said the last words, to myself, to the silent atrium, to no one. Calm, final. The trust is mine. The glass doors to the mezzanine slid shut. The screen goes black. Thank you so much for listening to this story. We truly appreciate you spending your time with us. Where in the world are you listening from? Let us know in the comments below so we can all connect and share our thoughts. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe to the channel and like this video. It helps us a great deal. And for extra support, please hit that hype button to help this story be heard by even more people.